Good morning. You good?
Yes.
Jamin. All right. I just realized that our clock is seriously different and wrong. Msiangalie hiyo.
You're on time.
In or out?
Go to south.
Good. So thank you everyone for being here today. I must say that genuinely, I'm very happy to see every faces. Yeah. Some, it's been a while. Hi, Cynthia. How are you? Good to see you. Yes. So, for those who are not here, when we started this month, the first Sunday, we looked at Micah, and predominantly, we looked at chapter 1. We're going today to make more emphasis to chapter 2 and 3. And this is what we shall be looking at through the month. And there is a memory verse that I asked us that we will always remember. Allow me to remind you of our Sunday school classes, if we attended, when we were required to remember the memory verses. Even today, as we grow up as children of God, we are required to also still be able to remember memory verses and say them. So, Micah chapter 6, verses 8. We go? Okay. Actually, what we do, can have one person from this side, one person from this side to say it. Cindy? Cindy Gideon. Okay. Huh? Let me see who was there. Faye, I'm not choosing you. I can choose her. Okay. You have been volunteered. Yes, just say it. Yes.
He has shown you, O mortal.
Faith.
I can volunteer the next person.
Yes, actually. You can.
Thank you, Fiona.
She's your best friend then. Okay, I see.
Okay, amplified. He has shown you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you, but to do justly, and to love kindness and mercy, and to humble yourself and walk humbly with your God.
Onesimus, you can put it up. Okay, so let us read it together. This is which version? Amplified, okay? So let us read together. Sold you, O man. Oh. And what does the Lord require of you except to be just and to love and to diligently practice kindness, compassion, and to walk humbly with your God, setting aside an overblown sense of importance or self-righteousness. Okay? This helps us to understand, but pick up now the NIV, any other version again. Okay, let's see this. He has shown you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you, but to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. Actually, this is a question. It is meant to be a question that also answers itself. it's a question that encompasses many things, that answers you, because the context is the children of Israel therefore were asking Micah, what are we then to do? Shall we bring offerings? Shall we bring live sacrifice our... because at that time what was happening is Israel had been bedeviled by excessiveness in corruption, excessiveness in idolatry, and sin had prevailed over the land. And it's a time that God is pronouncing judgment over the children of Israel and over Israel and Samaria. So, in an attempt to clear their name before the Lord, they are asking, what should we do? And in response, this is the word, oh man. He has already shown you, oh man, what is good. And what does the Lord require? And what is this that he requires? He requires, number one, justice. He requires justice. And all of us understand, or may not fully understand, but we will try to understand what justice looks like. He does require that we love mercy. Love mercy, live in mercy, exercise mercy with each other, because he has already also demonstrated that mercy to us. And number three, to walk in humility, to be humble before him. So these three things shall we always remember through this month of May. That the Lord requires justice, that we live in justice, that he abhors any form, manner, shape of injustice, be it at home, be it at work, be it on the market, be it to yourself. The Lord is a righteous judge, he is a fair judge, and so he desires justice. In our national anthem, I remember when we were in primary school, things have changed a little bit nowadays, but we were required all the time to sing the national anthem in all the four stanzas. And part of it says, justice be our shield and defender. Justice be our shield and defender. You realize that the writers of the national anthem intended it to be a prayer. Not just to be sung at our lips, but actually to be words that go straight to God's heart. Acknowledging that if justice be our shield, it means that it will defend the weak. And the weak, both the weak and the strong, God calls them mine. And when he calls them mine, it means the point at which any one of them is undermined or their rights are infringed upon, actually you strike a personal conflict with God. And who amongst us wants to have such a conflict? Who wants to go to war with God? Because number one, God in his justice, actually, he reigns in justice in power and majesty. In which case, he rules so justly, and he desires. He knows one thing, that he has already laid it bare to his people, that he loves justice. And so when he is telling you to do it, to practice and to live justly, he's not telling you something you do not know. You've had in our courts, any learned friends? Oh, Rosemary, how are you? What do we say about ignorance? It's no defense. Ignorance is no defense in court. You will never say in court, I didn't know. No. It's never a defense. So, God has made it also very clear. And so he says, oh man, he's already shown you. Oh man, he's already told you. You are already aware of these things. That number one, justice. And I believe that's also where the writers, our forefathers, when they wrote this national anthem, they said, oh God of all creation. And in the later stanzas says, justice, be our shield and defender. Some of us may not love law so much, while some may do. In the best understanding of this book of Micah, as I will show it later in the last service next week or next Sunday, actually the book of Micah is written as a lawsuit. It is presented as a lawsuit where I already last Sunday talked about Micah, the writer, and Micah, the man who is used by God as a witness. Then I also mentioned about God the judge. And then we have the people of the world, the people of Samaria, and the people of Jerusalem, Samaria and the people of Israel as the judged. So we have from chapter 4, 5, and 6, we will partly look at judgments, the indictments that are brought up, that God brings up against his people. Because consistently and persistently, when God observes injustice, he is so just that he actually does not neglect. He doesn't keep quiet. And we will see in this book also how the people of the children of God, the people of God, who he knows as his own, the people he has a personal relationship with, how they neglected these things that he so desires, these things that he so requires of them, that cause him, in chapter 1, we said, dramatically, Micah demonstrates how God was coming down. He was coming down, he was creating a real show. A real show that looks more like a children's movie. You know, the children's movie is where everything is possible. And the main character, the hero, must remain a hero consistently. And that is the image that Micah presents to the children of Israel. Just to remind them that, by the way, guys, this is the extent to which actually God, the judge, is going to show up. And he's showing up not because he's coming to celebrate what you are doing, not because he's coming to cheer you over the fights, but he's coming down as a judge. And so today, I'm going to look more at the leadership. What were God's concerns? And that is from chapter 2. From chapter 2 and partly chapter 3. It is more of judgment on the leaders. Judgment on the religious leaders, the political leaders, and any person who is in the position of authority, where you make decisions, where decisions that you make on daily basis influence or affect other people's lives. So in chapter 2, he starts off. Actually, something else I also want to bring to our attention. That initially, when you look at the original manuscript, you will notice that there were no chapters. It was one prose story flowing. And in this prose story that is flowing, there are different themes that were emerging. And so from those themes is where now the chapters and the verses were identified now during the compilation of the Bible. So from chapter 2, verses 1. Micah starts off, "What sorrows awaits you who lie awake at night thinking of evil plans?" What amount of sorrow awaits you who lie awake at night thinking of evil plans? You know that there are people who spend their time many times in our fallen nature as human beings. We have a more likelihood, a greater propensity towards breaking the law than keeping the law. You've heard it said that in Kenya, the Kenyan Constitution is one of the best in Africa, probably in the world. One of the best written constitutions. And the fact that we have one of the best compilation of laws to govern us. But does that reflect in our daily living? Does that reflect, is this what we are seeing in our nation every day? It is also said that as soon as we finish writing the Constitution, as soon as we finish putting up rules, laws, we understand those rules so well that we also find out easily how to break them. Are you getting me? That you understand as you are discussing, for instance, if I'll bring us again to another context, in the marriage setting, when you're sitting together as a couple, or in a business setting with your partner, when you are agreeing very well how the rules that will govern your operations, you are also keenly understanding so well how you will break it, how you will change it, how you will also use it against each other. And you stand up as a witness against each other. We have seen these things exist. These things have been done to us. These things have been done to other people that we know. And I think I was We were having a chat today. Actually, it was with Pastor Lucas and Pastor Steve out here. And this story was coming in so handy. Pastor Lucas, can I share it? Where there? All right. Am I allowed? Okay, perfect. So he was telling us out there that he had an agreement with Amzeh. And then about a piece of land. So they agreed to buy, Amzeh agreed to sell this piece of land to him at 10 million. Then they coexisted together with the brothers, with the sons to this Mzee for a long time, until actually he felt like he's part of the family, because when you want to buy this piece of land, you want to live amongst people that you know, people that you have a relationship with, so that you want just to maintain or to preserve the brotherhood. Then Lord, the unexpected happened. Mzee died. And when Mzee died, despite the fact that the sons knew the agreement he had with Mzee, rules changed. Rules changed, and the land now was going at 35 million. From 10 to 35. And I'm asking myself what you could have done if this kind of atrocity was put against you. And so look, they were part of the agreement, but as soon as they realized that actually it can change and work in their favor, they quickly maneuvered to change it. And it's a kind of injustice that Micah is pointing out today here, that what sorrow awaits you who lie awake at night, thinking up on evil plans. You rise up at dawn to hurry to carry them out, simply because you have the power to do so. When you want a piece of land, exactly. Actually, he's talking about a piece of land here. So lands were there then. They were being grabbed then, even today. So when you want a piece of land, you find a way to seize it. When you want someone's house, you take it by fraud and violence. You cheat a man of his property, stealing his family's inheritance. And when this is happening, last Sunday, the first Sunday, I told us about a number of breaking news. They were so breaking consistently. And one of them was about the 10,000-acre piece of land somewhere in Narok. Was it Narok? Yes, in Narok. So my question is, when those injustices happened at that time, was God watching? Was God seeing it? Was God aware that it was happening? Was he? He saw it happen, and he kept quiet. True or false? Did he keep quiet? Kawe, did he keep quiet? Yes. Susan, did God keep quiet when all these things were happening? When people are conspiring to pick other people's lands and houses? He didn't keep quiet. Exactly. He didn't keep quiet. Actually, he sent out Micah to step up and speak about it. And this is what Micah said about it in verses 3 of chapter 2. But this is what the Lord says: I will reward your evil with evil. This is God's judgment about it. He didn't keep quiet And it's a question I ask us today. What does the Lord require of us today? He requires justice. He requires justice. And justice says that keeping quiet when evil is perpetrated is part of injustice. Speaking about it and speaking the truth to power allows us to become vessels used by God, to be used by God in his administration of justice. So he says that I will reward your evil, you evil people who conspire to steal from the weak. I will reward your evil with evil. You won't be able to pull your neck out of the noose. You will no longer walk around proudly, for it will be a terrible time. In that day, your enemies will make fun of you by singing this song of despair about you. And they will say, we are finished, completely ruined. God has confiscated our land, taking it from us. He has given our fields to those who betrayed us. Others will set your boundaries then, and the Lord's people will have no say. Will have no say in how the land is divided. You know, so the Lord does not keep quiet. He didn't keep quiet at that time. He doesn't keep quiet today. The Lord is up in arms, and he is up to judge when evil is perpetrated. And you see, the people rarely is injustice done from down to top. Many times it is when people turn up to be opportunistic against other people. When at the moment you feel you are more privileged, you are more deserving, you need it more than the other. Part of our conversations out here with Pastor Steve and Pastor Lucas, we were giving an example of Onesimus here. And we were just making an illustration that the false sense that for me to rise, I need to make Onesimus to go down. It doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. It is possible for me to rise and to help Onesimus also rise. God appreciates when we value each other, when we accord the value that he accords to, when we accord each other the value that he also accords us. When we are able to look at each other with the eyes of God. When we are able to walk, when we do that, we are able to fulfill this command and this requirement. What does the Lord require of us? He does require us to walk in justice. When you see each other in the eyes of God, when you see each other, when we look at each other and see the true image of God and representation of God, we are able to love on each other. We are able to see that actually what he deserves is what I deserve. And when we do that, we are able to live in justice. We are able to walk in mercy, to demonstrate mercy to each other. We are able, therefore, to walk in humility. When we look at each other with those eyes, that God looked at us and he said, by the way, instead of, because sin is only punished by death as the ultimate price, Jesus had to step up And God looked at us and said, by the way, since there is no way I will look at you and fail to see the sin in man, what I will do is I will place Jesus Christ in your place. So that every time I want to look at you, I will look at Jesus Christ and see you. And the righteousness that is in Jesus Christ is what I will be able to see. And every time I do that, I will see mercy. And that mercy is also what he calls on us to walk in every day. And we say, what does the Lord require? He requires that we walk in justice. He requires that we be able to live in mercy, to show mercy. He does require us to walk in humility, to be humble before him and to be humble before each other. It is possible for us, to be humble even with our own children. To be humble if you're a teacher. To be humble actually with the students or the children that you're teaching in school. You are able to be humble with your business partners. That you don't have to be arrogant. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to be hard. It is possible for you to represent God. It is possible for us to represent God in all aspects of our lives. You hear that the cost of fuel that we consume or we use as a country, what's the barrel price, Gideon? The cost of a barrel of petroleum? Huh? Can't hear? Yeah. I hear we buy our petrol at, arrives at 87, I think. But we pay double for that to get it. I mean, the taxes only that are put on it. And that is the kind of injustice that I want to bring to our attention. Have you seen at times, whereas the laws of business dictate that the laws of demand and supply determine the prices. Have you seen times when you have to inflate your consultation fees just because you are sure whatever happens, these people must, at the end of the day, look for me? Have you seen situations where the cost of food, for example, a certain food commodity, has to go up because you are the sole supplier at that time? You want to make 1,000% profit on a commodity. It is possible for us to remain just, to remain productive, to remain, to make a profit that is just. Because still, when we do that, God is able to bless us. God is able to look at you and say, by the way that I observe that my son is living justly. He is doing his business in a just manner. When the leadership fails, when the leadership becomes merciless, and as I mentioned, we are all leaders in different spheres. If you are in business like myself, I automatically become a leader, not appointed by anyone, but because I have people who work under me. Number two, I become a leader because what I give, what other people need, I am able to supply. I become a leader in that space. And so the requirement of justice applies in all spaces. And it's very easy for us to say that, to think that probably political leaders need God more than, or need to be saved more than we need to be saved. It is easy sometimes even to say, imagine Ken amefanya hivyo na yeye ni pastor. He is a leader just like the other leader, and the demand of accountability, the requirement of accountability does not reduce because you are either in church or outside of church. There is no dichotomy in the life of a Christian. There is no dichotomy in the life of a believer. That you who dispenses justice and who lives in mercy and who is able to walk in humility here in church, it is a similar requirement whether you are as a political leader or you are doing anything else, whether in church or in school or in hospital or a business person like myself. There is another category that Micah was so firm about. He came out guns blazing about the people who followed false teachers, false prophets, as well as the leaders who practice false prophecy. And in verse 6 of chapter 2, he says, "Don't say such things." The people respond, "Don't prophesy like that. Such disasters will never come our way." As he was talking to them, reminding them of the impending judgment, the judgment that God is bringing, they would tell him, no. I mean, our God is a loving God. Our God is a faithful God. Our God is full of mercy. You are very right. Very merciful. And actually, he doesn't even care about what I am doing right now. Should you talk that way, O family of Israel? With the Lord's Spirit, have patience with such behavior. If you would do what is right, you would find my words comforting. Yet to this very hour, my people rise against me like an enemy. That yes, much as Micah stood up to tell them, and actually I'm remembering this question I needed to ask us. Is it better off when an accident in any form or a bad thing happens without warning, or for it to happen with a warning? Which one is easier? Which one do we take more lighter? Derek, which one do you prefer? Would you prefer a prior warning before it happens, or you don't need a warning? You prefer the warning. Okay. He probably represents a majority of us. Even myself, I would prefer to be warned in advance. But who is man? As I mentioned earlier, we would want the warning to come, but many times 99% of us will pay no attention to that warning. You prefer the warning, but actually you prefer. When the warning comes, you will ignore it, but when it happens, you say, by the way, You prefer the warning. And so he says here, he's so concerned about the people that, by the way, you should be celebrating the fact that at least I brought this warning in advance. Because look at the time at which Babylon attacked or Israel was raided by Babylon. It was about 30 years later. I wish they just listened. I wish. So he's telling them, but that, by the way, guys, right now, you should even be more comforted because I warned you in advance. I told you these things. But lol, you hear saying that actually God can never do such a thing. Our God is so merciful, he will never do such a thing. No. In the consistency of evil, in the persistence of sin, actually, God comes up as a judge. We become the judge, God becomes the judge, and his people become the witness, and actually, he has to render a judgment. And certainly, punishment follows. You steal the shirts right off the backs of those who trusted you. Does it sound familiar? That you've been entrusted yesterday. Yesterday. I was with a doctor in Mombasa and he was telling me this. The field where I work in is called medical representative. I don't know if you've interacted with any medical representative in your spaces. So this is how it looks. So there is the entrepreneur who comes, who has his products, who has his drugs there. And so he has a number of people who go out to represent the company so that now the products are able to move from the office or the warehouse to the market. And so this doctor was so surprised. He was telling me, Philip, I've never seen a field with such a high turnover like this one of medical representative. And so he gave an example of another hospital. He thought that it was worse there until he arrived to medical representative. So he's a doctor, he's worked with nurses, and so he was giving an example of another doctor who was a hospital. So when he started this hospital, what people did most, he would hire nurses, train them, but the moment, 1 year later, the moment they have picked up the practice, another hospital comes calling them. And they are out, they move from Mombasa Hospital to Pandya Hospital to Chamia Hospital and all that, and like that and like that. And so he reached a resolve and he said that, by the way, I am tired of hiring strangers. I will now begin to do what? Hire people from my community. And whereas other people look at that and say, this doctor is so tribal. He's just hiring people from his tribe. And this doctor was telling me about it. He was like telling me how he arrived on that resolve. He was like, I better hire than my people, my own people, because every time I hire people from elsewhere, they come and steal and move the next, and you put them in charge of radiology store, and the things are moving out, and drugstore, and everything is moving out, and you can't find them because they ran to the next place. And this is a demonstration of some of the injustices, that instead of appreciating the efforts or the opportunity that your employer has given, you are there finding an opportunity to take away from him. I gave an example last week, the other week, of using your employer's paper to write application later for your next job. And Micah is pointing out here that you steal the shirts right off the backs of those who trusted you. These things happen everywhere. And when this is happening, The question is again, what does the Lord require of us? He requires that we live justly. He requires that we show mercy and that we walk in humility. You make them as rugged as men returning from battle. By the time they are seeing that shirt that was taken from you. Another thing that emerged from our conversation out here is that Christians don't trust each other. That we can't trust each other with as low as 100,000 shillings. That if I gave you 100,000 and expected it back, if you gave it to me, probably it's an offering you've given. Praise the Lord. Let it go. Yeah. That we cannot trust each other. Even when we can't trust each other in such levels. When we can't trust each other as business partners. When we can't trust each other, it only limits our growth. We were having in that conversation, we picked an example of a certain community who usually come together and actually build something. You see a whole apartment being advertised, you think that actually one person owns that apartment. No. Several people do own it, and every one of them contributed a share, and they trust each other. But because of injustice that is rooted rightly within us, we are not able to trust each other. And God is asking us, can He trust us today? Because without trust and without justice, we'll not be able to grow as a people, as a nation, as a family. You have evicted women from their pleasant homes. Children of God labored to put up homes. And forever stripped their children of all that God would give them. He is directly talking to them. In the society then and the society current, and I think in the society future, women and children are many times seen to be weak. And what does the Lord do with the weak? Actually, He is more on their side. And in this case, I don't say that men are all strong. Men have their own weaknesses, and men can be weak. And it's also just basically says that you shall not look at the weakness of the other party and take advantage of it for your benefit. Instead, it will be an avenue for you to raise each other. And as I said earlier, when Micah is talking to these people and telling them how they have stripped off these children and these women of their pleasant homes, there is a relationship that he is attaching these children to God. That God is looking at them and calling them mine. And so when you're starting up this war, when you're starting up this injustice, it's actually injustice against God. Not just against these people, these weak people, or these people who are exposed to you, but it's an injustice to God Himself. And this will, of course, attract an indictment from God. And he continues and says that, up, be gone. This is no longer your land and home. For you have filled it with sin and ruined it completely. Suppose a prophet full of lies will say to you, I'll preach to you the joys of wine and alcohol. That's just the kind of prophet you would like. That they who prophesy, they who stand up even when you are wrong and they tell you you are right, so that you can give more offering. they are only helping you and escorting you to hellfire. Because God's judgment that is so true, that is so just, for sure it won't spare. And God gave a straight instruction to Micah about this. Tell them that they shall not listen to false teachers, to false prophets, because they will mislead you. But he has also given every man, each person, the ability to know what is right. In all this, God still, even when he plans his judgment to punish the sin, he still does it in love. And verses 12 tells us that someday, O Israel, I will gather you. He has told them about the impending judgment, which will involve being taken to slavery. But at one point still, he will gather them back. I'll gather the remnant of who is left, and I will bring you together again like sheep in a pen, like a flock in its pasture. Yes, your land again. Your land will again be filled with noisy crowds. Your leader will break out and lead you out of exile and out through the gates of the enemy cities back to your land, and your king will lead you. The Lord himself will guide you. So the Lord is not short of his good plans, but he's still, for these plans to be, for us to be beneficiaries of these good plans for us, there is his requirement of us. And it's what I will repeat every time, that he requires justice, that the Lord requires mercy, that the Lord requires humility. The judgment on Israelites, on the Israelite leaders, we saw from Ahab. There is what Ahab, the culture that Ahab had started in chapter 3. Listen, I said, listen to you leaders of Israel. You are supposed to know right from wrong, but you are the very ones who hate good and love evil. You skin my people alive and tear their flesh from their bones. Yes, you eat my people's flesh and you strip off their skin and break their bones, and you chop them up like meat for the cooking pot. I'm reading this. While I'm reading this, I'm putting that image in my head. I don't know how possible or how practical this is, but I'm sure he's painting a picture or the image of a cannibal. Another human being, one human being eating up another human being. It may not be as dramatical as it is here, but it is such a reality in our state or in our society, where you find there are leaders who actually own everything. That however much, to what extent you try to penetrate, simply you can't go. There are gatekeepers in professions, gatekeepers in business, gatekeepers in every aspect of practice and of human life, to the extent that much as they do nothing. I was reading an article yesterday, I think in the Daily Nation, that KBC, the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, for a long time, interns needed to pay to do internship there. How many of us paid for us to do internship? Akuna? No one did internship in Camry or government lab or anything. Okay. Some internships you are required to pay for you to do it. So now when this new manager arrives, the new MD arrives in KBC, she realizes that actually interns are paid, need to pay for them to do internship in KBC. And yet they are required to be there at 8 and leave at 4. So where do they get the money? They've already left their homes. They've left their parents probably. They left from the villages, came here to do internship. So where are they getting the money to pay? And where do they get their upkeep? You know. Now, whereas that was bad, let me tell you what was now worse. That half of the staff were actually ghost workers. Those on payroll actually for like 6 months had never showed up in office. For 6 months they had never showed up in office. And yet they are on payroll. And here there is an intern who comes to work every day. They have a clear JD and they deliver every day. Yet they pay to do that work. And this is the kind of injustice that Micah was speaking to. And if you are in that space, what does the Lord require of you? What does the Lord ask us to do? The Lord does not expect us to be on the cheering squad of evil. When we say injustice, we are on the cheering squad because it's our person. No. He expects us to do something different. He expects us to be the Micah of today. When I hear that you eat people's flesh, the leaders were eating people's flesh. You know, it's like when you see the pig, what do you say? You see smoky or my sausage, yeah? And the leader sees you, he sees the votes. When I arrive here, I count, okay, at least I have moved how many votes ahead of my competitor. That is inhuman and injustice. And then the irony is you beg the Lord for help in times of trouble. No, the Lord does not hear that. The Lord will listen, will be merciful, and be gracious, and be just to us. And he so desires that justice that we so desire for ourselves, when we cry out to him, he desires that we also dispense the same justice to other people that are under us or below us. It's a hard question to all of us as a church. In the various spaces we live in, we work in every day, it's a challenge to us. It applies so differently to each one of us. My prayer is God will give us wisdom to know what to do at what time as different scenarios that require our attention shows up. The best line is that we shall apply 3 very important virtues. One of them, justice. Second, mercy. And third, humility. Pastor Ken.